cool. Let's go ahead and get started. Honestly, nothing new. Pretty much the same as Wednesday. We're stalling, like as you can see. As you can see, we just been stalling since Wednesday, and we even took out, a previous low, but we didn't fully go through the low. We just reacted from it, as you can see here. And this is it's a bit worrying in the aspect that we took out a previous low and just reacted immediately from it. But we also have to acknowledge that a ton of bearish momentum came and it failed to break a previous high. So structure's still intact, but this is a 90% retracement. And even though we have momentum, it really just depends on what's going to happen in this range here. Right, either we're going to mitigate something in this wick and continue lower, or going to find something here, clear out a high here, and if we take out this high, we'll easily take out this high here. Just because it's so uncertain right now in terms of structure that I really don't know. Okay. Okay, cool. And you can't really just tell based off of here, because obviously we have to acknowledge whatever open is going to be, and then from there we have to acknowledge whether this structure point is going to stay intact or this one, because when we're, like I said, when we're obviously bearish from daily and weekly, right? But what's concerning is that we're still ranging, right? Like I said, point of reference here is this previous low. And when we look at intraday structure now, if this low would have been taken out, I wouldn't have wanted price to take out this previous high. And then I would have wanted that to continue structure. But since we broke a previous high and reached for, almost the previous high, this is now like a 90% retracement. Although we had bearishness come in, right? Obviously we stalled after whatever was mitigated here. So we're just at a point now where we're pretty much stuck around, previous range equilibrium, right around equilibrium. So it's very uncertain whether we're probably going to react from a previous high or take out a previous low, or maybe take out and get something down here if there is anything and go up. But when we're comparing that to EU, right, it's very, very sloppy. And from this point, what I really liked was that during London, right, we saw a bullish reaction occur and we had a New Year continuation, right? So not only that, but we took out a previous level of structure and filled the entire inefficiency, which was actually from M5. Right, you can, not the cleanest scenario ever, right? But that would be a reference point 1, right, for this inefficient pricing present here. And that's where price came back to right around the end of, of the overlap. And as much as I wanted to sell this, I don't want to sell it because I know that I'm bearish DXY long term. And from there, it's just like, I'm very curious to see if we're going to break this relative area here and continue lower, or we're going to continue this bullish move to the upside, because from an intraday standpoint, we have taken out previous highs, right? And we're in a bull flag. So we broke the structure, we came back, right, and then created a bullish move during both London and New York. Although it is Friday, the structure is leaning towards the upside. So I really want to see what happens in these special areas of interest here, because if we break this, we'll more than likely break this low, right? Obviously, it depends on the reaction as well, because that it's not just about trying to guess where it is, it's about what happens at those POIs. So we really don't know what happens until it happens, right? Like I tell you guys that. So what I like about here is just pretty much inefficient pricing there. We had a wick come in. There could be something in that wick. And so I want to see what happens when price reaches here. If it's like immediately after the week open, it probably won't hold in my opinion. But it really just depends. Especially because this daily closure was semi-bullish, right? Although we're now stuck in the range, right? Which I don't really want to trade this range. I do want to see what happens because we are around range equilibrium and we are still bullish, right? Technically, if we're looking at structure here, right? This is your previous high. That was taken out and we're creating consecutive higher lows. So the bias is still up, so I don't really want to sell it until I have a reason to, which would be to significantly take out these previous lows. Field H1 efficiency in London. You're talking about here? Talking about that? Yeah, that's something good to play off of. Now the only issue would be this candle here. That's the only issue because this is the reaction occurring. That doesn't mean you're gonna get the follow through. So it's just a matter of waiting now. Like I said, I really like, this area of interest here that occurred right at the New York Open. So I'm curious to see what happens at that POI, and from there we just play off of that. But it just depends on speed and reaction. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. I was watching that. But yeah, I see that. Yeah, it does. Like I said, I just want to see how this holds now, and then go on from there, because like I said, it really just depends on how this reaction is gonna be. I really like, even though we did a 90% retracement, I really like how the momentum shifted here, right? Which is during New York and London. So that could be a good catalyst as to why this continues lower, which would be preferred, obviously. And not to mention that, bearish structure is maintained. Right, so it would only be it would logically make sense for it to take out this low next, right? Which would be also this previous high, and it would also be getting closer to this previous high, which 1.5 has been the target for, since March. So yeah, and then after that, depending on how bullish the reaction is, then obviously we're looking at 1.8 for this is my goal by the end of the year. Can we do it? It's very probable. Just a matter of, the catalyst supporting it. Yeah, I mean, I don't correlate anything else besides EU with DXY, because then you're supporting the idea that because DXY goes up, every XXX USD always goes down, which is not the case. So I wouldn't use it on any other pair. Like, tell me how this looks like this. Doesn't make sense. Tell me how this looks like that. Right? Obviously similar, but not fully correlative. Yeah, divergence. I don't use divergence on pairs, bro. Don't care for it. Not necessary. Oil and UCAD correlate. I mean, oil influences UCAD just because the Canadian, I believe it's one of the biggest exporters oil, is it? Oil affects CAD, but UCAD does not affect oil. But I mean, I don't like playing based off of correlations, honestly. The only reason I correlate DXY and EU is just to find better POIs. Other than that, it doesn't really matter. Because you also got to look at it like this. Let's see.
Ya en todos los rincones, o sea, como eso absorbe.
Ooh, hello. Tell me how this looks like that. You know? It doesn't really correlate. So take that on a light note. Don't fully rely on something to then correlate to the other thing. Let me put see, correlative in the aspect that they're in going in opposite directions, but in terms of actual movement, it's not identical, which is why it's not reliable to me. So good for the macros, not good for the swing intraday bias. Does that make sense? Can you say that again? So it's good for the macros, but it's not really good for the whole intraday swing stuff. Because to solely rely on that is not really, that's not really something that, I would show you guys. That's too, you're assuming too much. It's not really fully in your control. So just play based off what you can control. This actually looks like a good sell-off. I mean, looking at the daily. Just by looking at this. Go highs taken out, reaction. Follow through. Yes, signals. I can't believe I used to give signals out. That's crazy to me. But I mean, other than that, guys, honestly, there's not really much going on. Like, just my explanation is going to be the same as it was Wednesday, which is going to be the same that it was last Saturday, which is going to be the same as it was last Wednesday, Yeah, I used to give out signals, man. I think I was in R2B for I think like a good 4 months. And I was probably like it was either 6 or 8 wins, something like that, and I only lost like twice. I remember one loss. It was stupid. I lost by like my stop loss hit by 1 pip. R2B was that was Sunil's old mentorship. That's pretty much how I get it. Like I first like got my name. That's when like people finally started like knowing who I was, just because Sunil had a bunch of clout behind his name. Starboy, don't even talk about that guy. One of the biggest frauds in the community. Yeah, but that stuff is irrelevant, man. Attention, clout, who gives a fuck? Like, you see all these ads. Oh, you see people talking all this shit. I mean, it's funny, you know, but at the end of the day, what's it really gonna bring? He was Disney. Notice he stopped though. That's all I'm gonna say. Notice Sean Lee stopped. Glad Gold broke 1800. Yes. It made sense though. I'm gonna make this pair breakdown for you guys soon. I'm glad the chart is still on here because I did not want to have to redo this chart because it's such a pain. But you guys understood this chart, right? I'm really happy gold actually did that because it made all the sense in the world and it happened. So it's just a matter of catching your re-entry no matter what. Like, as you can see here, structure's intact the whole time, but now it looks like it's wanting to shift. So who knows how deep this retracement could be. You know, hopefully taps previous structure point, inefficient pricing there, and it still maintains the previous structure point. So then this would be the full correction, and then from there, that would be fun. You know, that would be cool. That'd be a cool trade because then from there, you know, you can easily assume that we're gonna make all-time highs from there, because a correction is needed for an impulse. But when this impulse is heavy. Okay, what's going on? Right, we already took out this previous area of liquidity. Now we're aiming for all-time highs. We have no reason to believe not to, and we're already so deep of a retracement that I wouldn't be surprised that we, you know, the next retracement will come after we take out that previous high and then correct. So it just makes all the sense in the world. Yeah, I mean, bro, if I would have bought gold when I started trading, I'd be crazy rich. If I would have just found every scenario to buy, I would have made so much money. And it goes to show, you know, understand the macro direction and then just make sure the structure shifts on, you know, at least the swing bias, and then you're straight from there. Yeah, silver has to catch up to gold too. Like, let me show you. Yeah, see, like, excuse me. When we're looking at gold, silver, once this starts to really give signs of bearishness, you're gonna see silver just skyrocket, and alongside platinum, palladium, every other, what's it called? Just, you know, every other metal.
Metal.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, bro, I know I asked you this last time. I'm not sure. Do you think it'd be a good idea to buy silver or not?
You should have already been in, bro, to be honest. But look, here's the thing though.
No, I'm talking about like physical silver.
No, yeah, you should have done that a while ago. That's because, I mean, if you follow Jordan Morgan, he's been doing that for like over, like, I think 2 years. But
Yeah, that's all. Honestly, that's the only thing like I give him credit for. Like, y'all called that shit right.
yeah, but I mean, anybody could have called that by looking at the chart. It's just a matter of actually taking action to it. But then when you're dealing with like actual metals, like, you're then gonna have to face a bunch of fees. You know that, right? Like, look into it. You're gonna see a bunch of fees for not only buying but also selling it.
Right.
Yeah, you could say that. I'll agree with that. Silver is extremely, you know, undervalued compared to gold and any other, you know, metal asset. Like, let's look at the chart right now. I know it started to pop off. Yeah, finally started to pop off. Nice. 14, nice. Yeah, this would have been a great opportunity. Because, like, we've done, how much have we done in the past, since March? We've done 60%. That's insane, you know? And the cool thing is like, we haven't even started yet. So, not only that, but who's to say this all-time high isn't only a TP1, you know? Once we take those highs out, and if it's convincing, this is gonna rocket. Like, who's to say this? Who's to say this doesn't look like potentially something else in the future? That one sucks. This one sucks too. Who's to say that type of range doesn't turn into something like this? You know, and this, I'm not saying it's going to go to $10,000, but I'm saying from a percentage standpoint, you're looking at a ton of potential profit, especially because it's a tangible asset. There's no way it can hit zero because of that. It's undervalued due to how high gold is too. So if we see a correction in gold, you should see silver start to rocket. Exactly. And once our dollar goes to shit, that's gonna straight rocket.
I think the scary part is that right now the best investment literally the futures contract is like price wheat. No.
Go say that again.
The best. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of scary because right now probably some of the best investments right now are rice, grain futures, wheat, food. If you look at R2 with the exclamation point, it pulls up the rice futures contract. And then if you look at what happened in 08.
You're cutting off, bro. It's very hard to hear you. But I did hear what you said, kind of. Wheat. What else did you say? Wheat. Coffee. Honestly, it's hard to hear you, bro. What about 2008? What is the rice futures right here? ZR, there it is. Yeah. This is crazy though. Look at this. That's a nasty reaction. That's crazy. I would not buy this. I'm sorry, I would not buy this. I'm good. No ways I'm buying this. You know what that looks like? That looks like this. Looks like that, straight up. This finally showed optimism though, but I don't really want to talk about this. Yeah, I do get the point. Things are, I think you're just getting at the point that things are giving opportunity for a very very like long-term buys. So from a macro standpoint, you're right. But you know, I'm not gonna hold. I mean, it's not that I'm not gonna hold that long, but I'm not gonna suffer that type of drawdown for no reason, you know. So I'd rather wait for something to bottom out and then just catch the trend instead of trying to guess the bottom and suffer drawdown. You get me? Which is kind of the whole basis of how we trade too. Aggressive but conservative. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you go to like a lot of silver websites, like I was checking them over the weekend or this week, and a lot of the websites are like sold out of gold and silver already. Like you can't even buy anything anymore. I think it's kind of crazy. I think it's gonna pop off.
Yeah, and then once scarcity hits, moon. Interesting. But yeah, guys. I mean, other than that, do you guys have any questions? Because honestly, there's not really much to add on based from Wednesday's call. EU Friday. I don't like trading Fridays, honestly. Just because I usually see Monday take out any type of Friday range. Well, what you're confused about is probably here. And when you're looking at this, doesn't matter what's happening left, right? What you have to understand is this could be considered a BOS, but you have to acknowledge the fact that this is still an uptrend. So who's to say this quote unquote BOS isn't just, you know, another pullback for a continuation, which is what happened here. Because let's say you're playing this BOS, right? BOS there, you get the entry here, this low is taken out, your stop loss is at break even. Now you have to acknowledge this low, which is the intraday low, and I call it the intraday low because that is a very significant low. If we break this low, then there is no more structure points. This will just drop. So notice this low didn't break. Tapped, didn't break. If it tapped and it gave a very fat bullish engulfing, do you really think it's still going to continue? Right? So in that scenario, out the trade, or you can wait to hit break even, up to you. But you need a reason to risk and you need a reason to get out. So we now have equal lows. Remember, equal lows are a target, not an influencer of bias. So looking at this now, right, we reacted, left equal lows, but we have an unwillingness to take out that previous low. Taking out this high now, that's bullish structure, right? We now take out these highs too. So even though we're breaking this low, this isn't a BOS. This is just a continuation pullback. Return to discount for another move to the upside. This is not a BOS. I don't care if there's a 50% inefficiency here, right? This is not a BOS. This is just a continuation of structure. And as you can see, came back, mitigate that. Not to mention, after this bullish reaction, look at the optimism here. So much bullishness coming into the market. So the only way to assume a BOS here is when we're looking at structure. We take out this low, we solidify a low here to then create a higher high, to then take out this previous structure point. So I wouldn't have probably taken this trade because I would have wanted somewhere up here, because that's probably tapping, yeah, right around equilibrium. Right, I would have wanted here to take that trade, but this is now a solidified low, create a higher high. We now broke the previous solidified low, and I would have wanted something up here. But it's very confusing. So honestly, that is very confusing, and I can see why people are struggling with that. But there was one scenario for me, and that would have been the one that I showed you. this would have been the only scenario I would have taken. Because I believe this was like 50% around here, I think, of the M30. I forgot. And then you would have seen that as a BOS, continuation there, break even here, unwillingness to take out a previous low, and engulfing, get out the trade. But from there, I know that that created a higher high. And if I go to M3, M2, then this is just a pullback. Is that confusing? I don't trade USD CHF, bro. I don't trade USD CHF. But there's no way I can give you that opinion. Yeah, and that's fine. But remember, it's not just about taking the trades, it's also about managing the trade. Right, so you easily could have come out there at least 1%. But if you wait for the break even, that just shows you're not managing your trade. I mean, what's confusing about it? You just had a bullish engulfing and you failed to break a previous low. What does that mean? If it's not going to break a low, it's going to break a high. Like, the setup was there. The setup is there. Break even stop after this low. Break even stop. But you have to acknowledge if this low breaks or not. If you enter on the first BOS, that's right here. That's the first BOS there. And you should have moved your SL after this low was taken out. Oh, that? No, that's too messy for me, bro. It's not clean enough for me. And when I was also looking at this range, I acknowledged this, which is why I was hesitant to trade the entire session. Right after overlap started, we had a BOS here and a continuation to the upside. And we took out previous highs here. So selling now would, and from an intraday basis, make no sense to me, which is also why I hesitated to do anything there. Yes, there was one set up there, but you can see it didn't work out because this occurred. And if you're looking at H1 closures, look at how bullish that closure is. Why is it like that, man? That's so annoying. Right? I'm not selling after this candle there, bro. If I see something like that at the open of New York, I'm not selling at all, bro. Yes, a sell-off occurred. But who's to say there's not just a continuation here to the upside? You know, like we said at the beginning of the call. But after that closure, I'm not selling at all. All right, same concept. BOS there. Slight discount. Right? I didn't catch that because I didn't see anything. And I honestly was waiting for this inefficiency fail there if it was going to occur. But it didn't occur. So there is no trade for me there. Yeah, I know. I see that, bro. And then also waiting for a smaller time frame reaction would have been tough. Because this entire time this looks corrective. So it wouldn't have been a trade I catch. There's nothing wrong with trading on Friday, bro. It's not about liking it. It's about whether do you have an excuse to risk or not. Doesn't matter what day it is. Do you have an excuse to hold? I mean, do you have an excuse to risk? And then once you take the risk, are you managing that risk? And if you're managing that risk, are you managing the trade scenario after it happens properly? No, bro, it doesn't matter. It's on the reaction, not on the POI itself. And if it's sloppy, then it most likely isn't going to work. But yeah, guys, I think that'll conclude today. We're almost, it's about to be 12 here.